Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today I am so excited to be bringing you another collaboration with Becky from Bex Reads, and today we are doing single dad romances for Father's Day, which is upcoming, as we did single mother romances in May, which was awesome. And it's perfect timing because I was already preparing a single dad romance video anyway. I previously have, obviously I did the single mother romance. I've also done one that was single parents and it had some of each in it. This one definitely has mostly all single dads except for one of these, which I'll mention at the end, which is a single guardian. All the rest of them, it is their children in it. So it's super exciting. We're going to start working our way through this stack. When I do these type of reviews, I tend to talk a bit quicker and a bit less about the books because mostly the focus is what the trope is. You know, that's what people are here for, is these books as trope recommendations. I'll also have Becky linked down below. If I don't have her exact video, I'll have her linked down below so you can go watch the ones that she has recommended. When we actually did our single mother romance, we didn't have a single crossover book, so you can potentially have double the amount of romances recommended for this one. So let's go ahead and dive in. And of course, we're going to start with one that, I mean, everyone's expecting me to have. It's what everybody has on theirs. So I'm just going to show it just in case I'm the first single dad romance video you come across. I feel it's my duty to share this book, even though I know everybody else in there and their sister talks about it, right? We have Heartless by Elsie Silver. My favorite book of 2022, one of the best books I've read in years. It is a nanny single dad romance. A lot of these books are going to be nanny single dad romances because that's the trope. Everyone's here for it. And I mean, I don't need much convincing besides that. This one also has a dad who's a cowboy. He has a little boy who for the summer he needs a nanny. And he ends up with his brother's girlfriend's best friend, who seems like a complete wild card, who's too young for him, who he really wants to spank when she's sassy to him, and who is fabulous with his son. And he just can't help it, but he knows that she's going to be the one living in his home helping him with his kid. And it is a ride, y'all. It is a ride. It is so fucking beautiful. I love this book with my whole heart and soul. I love Elsie Silver with everything that I am. And if you love single dad but you haven't tried this one yet, I don't know what you're doing. You can start with this one if you want to. I know some of my friends started with Heartless before reading Flawless, but really all 4 books in the series I have loved, but this one particularly is extra special. Then we have a historical to share with you, which is The Many Sins of Lord Cameron by Jennifer Ashley. This one is about Ainsley Douglas, who actually works for the Queen, and she's trying to get back some salacious some letters that the Queen had written to her secret lover, if Mr. Brown ever was her secret lover, and she runs into Cam there. And so 6 years later, previously he'd run into her in her bedroom before too. And so she convinces him that she's seeking a liaison, but couldn't go through with it because of her husband previously. But now she's a widow, and she's on a mission to retrieve letters that could prove embarrassing to the Queen. And so Cam has no interest in her lies, but he vows to finish what they started many years ago. So there's one game, one kiss at a time, and he plans to seduce her. And what starts out as a lusty diversion may break Cam's own rules and heal the scars of a dark and damaging past. So he has a older-ish son. In this book, I think he's in like his late teens. His name is Daniel. And yeah, I love this whole series. The Mackenzie Family by Jennifer Ashley is such a cozy series that I love to go back to. So I highly recommend this one. All right, then I basically have like an author to recommend. Let me see where all the books, here they are. Because this author, she should be called the single dad romance author because she has written so many of them. Like she's literally written so many of them. I didn't even grab them all off my shelf, but I have 4 of them that I'm going to talk about. So we have Melanie Harlow. So the very first single dad nanny romance of hers that I ever read was Insatiable. It was the first book by Melanie Harlow I ever read. And it was actually when I was first discovering like romance booktube, I found age gap recommendations, and this one was recommended. This one only has a 10-year age gap, but the hero actually takes it very seriously. The heroine actually had a heart condition when she was young, and she had to have like surgery, and so her family has very much babied her, even beyond the fact that she is the baby in the family. But this man, Mac, works for her father he's the CFO at Cloverleaf Farms, and he has 3 daughters. He has an ex-wife. He's ex-military. The military is very hard on relationships. And she sometimes nannies for him. Not like full-blown, but she does babysit sometimes. So this isn't a full-on like nanny one. But he definitely thinks he's having inappropriate thoughts about his children's babysitter, and things get crazy after a while. So there's Insatiable. There is also Ignite, which is part of the 2nd generation of Cloverleaf Farms, but it's also listed as like book 6 in the series because she didn't name it a new series. But I love this one because when she announced she was going to continue and have the daughters of some of these, it was so exciting. So this one is about Winnie McAllister, who is one of the 3 daughters in this one, which is exciting. So yeah, this one is about Winnie McAllister, and she now has a neighbor whose name is, sorry, I just forgot what his name was. There's so many of these. There's Winnie and Dex. I think it's Dex. Show me Dex. Yeah, it's Dex. And he is now her neighbor, and he's an ex-SEAL, and he has 2 daughters, and he's also a firefighter. And yeah, this one's hot, forced proximity, and it's another sexy one. There we go. Then also within the same like universe, but not in that series, is Make Me Yours. This one is brother's best friend, hot single dad next door. That's what we have with Make Me Yours. She also had a crush on him when she was young. And now that they're like both in town and they're next to each other, this one, he's also a police officer. So Melanie Harlow really likes her blue collar men, and I'm here for it. I'm definitely here for it. And she sends him a dirty sext when she's having a rough night. So yeah, this one isn't so much an age gap because it's her brother's best friend, but he wasn't like that much older than her, but it's more of like forbidden because it's her brother's best friend. So sexy stuff. And then there is her newest release, which I'll mention, which this one is a nanny romance as well, which is Runaway Love. And this one, our hero, this one's in Cherry Tree Farms, I think is what the series will be, or maybe it's just Cherry Tree Lane. I can't remember. But this one, the hero has a boy and girl twins, and he needs a nanny for the summer, and this girl has just run away from her wedding, and her ex-fiance cuts her off from everything, and so she needs a job to basically earn money to be able to go back home eventually, and so she ends up as his nanny. There is The Tryst by Lauren Blakely. This one is an ex's dad, but I liked this because this one, the hero had a kid basically when he was in high school, and the woman's like family really kind of like chased him away. It didn't let him be too much a part of his kid's life, but he still very much loves his son, and he's been in his son's life a lot more as an adult. This one I really loved because even though it was an ex's dad romance, it more of is the fact that it's like a friend's dad's romance, because she only dated the guy like for a couple months and they never slept together, and now they're friends and actually kind of like working together. And she has a tryst with this man at when she's at a convention, and when she gets back home they're still texting and talking with each other, but he lives in the UK, she lives in the US, so they're really not going to be more than like, I don't know, sexy pen pals. Only he decides to come to the US not only to be closer to his son, but he is planning to maybe make a move with this girl because he really likes her. And then he finds out that his son is working with her, so they think they need to stay apart from each other, but that only works so well, let's say that. Then we have One Look by Lena Hendricks. This is a recent book that I have just adored. I've been loving Lena Hendricks. And this one is a grumpy sunshine, single dad. She kind of is his like secretary slash nanny is what happens. But this girl, she's an out of work actress. She ends up in this small town, and through some interesting conveniences ends up as his neighbor. And then he is a college football coach who has 3 players who are kind of like staying with him through the off season because he needs to keep an eye on them, and so she also helps kind of wrangle them as well as helps with his daughter. So I really love this one. I thought it was so cute. I really liked how the 3rd act was handled in this one, and yeah, also like love language is talked about all the time in this book, and I just love that so much. which is what the series is kind of going to be about. So this is the Sullivan Family Book 1. One Touch is going to be coming at, I think, the end of this month, the beginning of next month. Very excited for that one. Then we have Hero by Claire Kent. This is a novella in her Kindle series. This is a series that you can absolutely read it out of order. You can read in whatever order you want to because the books overlap at different times and any information you need to know you will get. But this one is about our heroine who she and her family were all in like a hunting cabin when the apocalypse was hitting, and her stepdad's younger brother was there with his girlfriend and eventually their baby girl, and now they're the only two left and they're trying to survive. And I love it. I love it. It's spicy, it's quick, and it gets me more and more invested in this series, which I love so much. Oh, and I also should say, like, they really are together for, you know, like, she has stayed with him all this time too for the little girl because she thinks they don't really like each other besides wanting to look out for this little girl. Meanwhile, the lady doesn't know that he's totally into her and has been pining for her these years, but doesn't want to mess it up because they're like forced to be around each other in this survival situation. So it's good stuff. All right, then we have Teach Me by L.L. Ash. This book, I was so excited that L.L. Ash was writing more books in this series. This one is the Sophisticated Seduction series, but they're not like connected. So actually both the books in this one have single dad romances, but this one is a little less taboo than the first one. The first one is a best friend's dad scenario and it's a big age gap. This one, the age gap isn't as huge and she's a graduate student. So I think she's like 23, 24. I can't remember. And her name is Mia, and so she is a TA in her senior year of college. And then he is a middle-aged writer, and his name is Owen, and he's just been divorced, and so he has 2 kids. And so, like, yeah, there's an age gap between them, but she's more of like a colleague of his. He's not her direct superior, even though he's the teacher that she's working with. So there's a bit of taboo-ness in there, it definitely is. But I absolutely loved how their relationship progressed. Because the hero really falls in love with her brain and her mind before there's anything sexual between them. So it's not like it's a super, super slow burn because they do kind of move the time along quickly, but they also don't like jump in bed together immediately in the way the story is going because they are working together for a while beforehand. And I also liked the relationship he has with his ex-wife. What's unique about this one, I'll just tell you, is that his ex-wife, she has a boyfriend who's younger than his new girlfriend. So she really doesn't have anything like, you know, bitter to say or mean things to say about his new girlfriend because her boyfriend is younger than her as well. And I thought that was cute. I thought that was cute because I was like, that's a unique way to do that. All right, then I want to share Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. This one was so beautiful. This is a friends to lovers. He's also her like manager. He used to be a comedian. Now he's a single father. And now he's her manager and she's a comedian. And they have this like beautiful friendship. And then they also have a little bit of like, I think there's like fake dating that happens in here too to help with publicity. Yes. Yeah. But also they just have such like beautiful feelings for each other, and watching them finally get brave enough to share them, I thought was so sweet. I really love this story and I definitely understand why so many people were swooning for it. And so I definitely recommend it. It's definitely a slower moving one, but like the feelings run really deep. And I loved seeing that grow and seeing it happen. So it's really beautiful. All right, then I also have Forbidden by Carla Sorensen. This was one that I recently just read. I was so excited to. And this is a single dad. He's just been widowed for a little while now. His wife died of cancer and he has a little girl. And so he, like I said, he's an ex-fighter and he buys this gym so that he can train people there. And our heroine, Isabel Ward, she is one of the like workers there. And so he knows he kind of wants to be on her good side because she's been working there a lot and she'll be a big help to him. And he of course is very attracted to her. but he doesn't want to, you know, impose on her or make her feel awkward at work. That's the last thing that he wants. And she is super turned on by him and just thinks that he's like grumpy but also really attractive to her. And she totally falls for his little girl. And actually she has a nephew who really ends up liking this guy's little girl, and so they're friends, and so it brings them around each other even more than just at the gym. And I just talked about this in a weekly wrap-up that I really love how Karla Sorensen still made the tension and the slow burn between these two so poignant and sexy, even though this is one of the lowest Steam ratings I've given a Karla Sorensen. It was only about a 1 star for me, because everything, like there was one scene and then everything else was pretty fade to black, but I still felt so in love with these characters that stuff didn't really bother me. It's not like I was demanding that I have lots and lots of sex in this book, because she wrote the romance so well that I know that these guys must have a very healthy sexual relationship, and it's probably very, very good. Then I have one last author to talk about, but 2 books to mention. So the first one I want to mention by A.L. Jackson is Give Me a Reason. Also, look at this gorgeous cover and the back even. Look at that. Absolutely love it. I actually have a signed copy because when I went to Wanderlust, A.L. Jackson was there, and so I had to get it. This one is book 1 in the Redemption Hills, and these are actually some brothers who are kind of like ex-biker gang guys, and you know, they have a bike shop in this small town, and the heroine in this one, she becomes a teacher for his son. So he's a jaded club owner, and she's his son's teacher, and so it's Eden Murphy, and so she came to make some extra cash at the club, but she didn't belong there. And then Trent Lawson is the last man that she should ever want. So it's supposed to be kind of forbidden in that way, but I just really love these two. I love this series, actually. It's so beautifully written. The audiobooks just sound like music when you listen to them. They're so well done. I've only read the first 2 books in this series so far. I still have 2 more to go. But I just like to savor them when I listen to them because they're so beautiful. And then the last one I want to mention is the one that is a single Guardian romance. And that is A.L.'s most recent release, Love Me Always, or Love Me Today. Is it Love Me Today? I think it's Love Me Today. Sorry. I think the next one's supposed to be like Love Me Always. I don't know. Anyway, this one has our hero who is coming to town with who we think is his daughter in the beginning. And our heroine is actually a horse trainer in town, and she's going to like be giving this little girl lessons. And so she gets an interview. But before the interview, she has a bit of a fender bender with this guy in a suit who's like this, like in a hurry and all this stuff. And he's like pissy with her because they like had a fender bender. And then of course, when she gets to this ranch for this interview, he's the man that she's interviewing with. And he immediately is like, no, this woman's so reckless, and he's trying to judge her. And then his brother, who had recommended this girl, was like, dude, why are you being so hard on her? Like, she would be great to work with your little girl. You know, like, what are you talking about? But we actually discover that this is his niece. And I lied. It wasn't his brothers. It's his cousins. This one is about some cousins who live there. And he's like the wealthy cousin who is involved in some like dangerous business in the city, but he's also very wealthy. So now he like is there to like run this ranch and do all that jazz. I don't know. I don't fully know what his business is. Do we really care? No, we don't. We don't. But his little girl is actually his niece. And we don't know what happened to her mother and father or what's happening there. But we know that she doesn't have a mother anymore, and he's been taking care of her. And our heroine ends up being kind of both the horse, like teaching this girl to ride, because the little girl has some issues going. Both, I think, some neurodivergence possibly, as well as some issues with having lost her mother in a traumatic fashion. And then our heroine also becomes kind of the nanny too when they have a fallout with the current nanny that they have. So yeah, it's kind of like forbidden between the two of them. But A.L. Jackson writes really beautiful sex scenes in this. So there are some naughty scenes going on. And Joe Arden did the audiobook for this one. I actually got an advanced listening copy of this one, and it was a good choice. So it was Andy Arndt and Joe Arden who did it, and it was delightful. So highly recommend. It's probably my favorite A.L. Jackson. I gave this one 5 stars. So there you go. Those are my single dad romances for now. I definitely have more and more to share, but we'll start with just this. And again, make sure you check out my friend Becky's video for even more recommendations. And yeah, if you want to buy any of these books that I mentioned, I do have links down below for my Amazon affiliate links. Whether you want to get the ebook or you want to get yourself a physical copy, definitely check those out. It supports the channel. Thank you so much for watching, friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye.